Hey everybody, Roxbox90 here with some more Theros spoilers. So we only have a couple today, and actually one of them was a miss from yesterday, I think. But three cool ones, so we'll just look at it. First off, we have Triton, Fortune Hunter, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Soldier. Heroic, whenever you cast a spell that targets Triton, draw a card. So again, Heroic seems like it could be pretty good, and Triton, I like that anytime you cast a spell that targets him, you draw a card, and that it is essentially a cantrip every time you put a spell on him. Obviously, it's an uncommon, just a 2/2. I mean, it's probably pretty decent and limited, just because it's nice that you can draw off of a pump or so. So reasonably interesting. Heroic. Otherwise, it's fine. It's very okay. Then we have Steam Augury, which I meant to actually pull up as an image, but there we go. Steam Augury is 2 a blue and a red for an instant speed weird fact or fiction, in that you reveal the top 5 cards of your library, separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of the piles, and you put that pile in your hand and the other into your graveyard. So fact or fiction is pretty awesome. Part of the reason it's so awesome is because it's 3 and a blue. You can run in most, or pretty much any decks that run blue in EDH. Commander, obviously, this card you can only run decks that run blue and red, which limits its use. That's the first thing that says it's maybe not as good. Second issue is that your opponent chooses the piles. So of course you can mix around and try to, fake them into giving you the best stuff. But overall, your opponent's choosing the piles. You're not necessarily going to get what you want from it. Whereas in the fact or fiction, your opponent puts the piles, but you get to pick what you really need out of those piles, and your opponent doesn't know what you need. Whereas here, you separate them to 2 piles. If your opponent has any idea of your board state, then your separating gives them a clue, at least psychologically, into the sort of stuff that you need. So it's clearly not as good. It's a worse fact or fiction, but fact or fiction is awesome and hasn't seen play in standard pretty much ever. So this card's a very solid card draw, especially for these colors. Likely see, or could very well see, some standard play. Instant speed's a big deal. EDH Commander, the colors that could run it probably will, just because it's another solid card draw. But again, I still think Fact or Fiction is simply a better card. Still cool to see something like this in the new set. Lastly, we have a Mythic, Ashen Rider, 4, 2 white and 2 black, so 8 CMC total, for a 5/5 Archon. Notice I'm pretty sure it's a female Archon, which is, I don't know if that's the first, but it's definitely something you don't see very often. And it's a flying Archon, 5/5 for 8. When it enters the battlefield or it dies, exile target permanent. Wow. So that is just a monster Mythic. In Standard, it's only really viable as a Reanimator target. I think it's a bit too expensive, even with mid-range going on, just because it has no real protection. Obviously, when it enters the battlefield or it dies, you exile a permanent, so even if it gets killed upon being played, that's fine. The problem is that it's probably going to run into counter magic. And given also in the new set there's going to be a number of very solid exile white permanents, it would only be super powerful maybe for the enter the battlefield. And 8 mana for a 5/5 flying that exiles a permanent, while it's, it's solid, it's very hefty on the cost. And that is a bit of an issue. Obviously, you move it to other formats such as EDH Commander, this card is just a lot of fun. It's only going to work in decks that could include the Auras of Colors, but being able to flicker and blink this card like crazy could cause for some ridiculous board states. And that's the other thing in Standard, since upon rotation we're going to lose a lot of the flicker effects from Avacyn Restored, right? So cards like Cloud, whatever that card was called, the one that flickers a creature, Cloud something, and other flicker effects that could go crazy with this card, you don't have them. It's really a Reanimator target, and that's where it's going to see life if it sees any. Otherwise, it will see play in EDH Commander, and probably not much else. I mean, it really depends. Given that it's when it enters the battlefield or it dies, it may have some potential in Reanimator and Legacy. It's possible. It's very hard to upset the already standard cards from the Legacy Reanimator, just because they themselves are so powerful and have been consistent in their play. But this card is pretty solid. Pretty solid. Even if just entering the battlefield, it could see some play, possibly in Legacy. So Standard Reanimator, pretty much nowhere else. Legacy, maybe. EDH Commander, almost definitely. Very cool card, nice mythic. Female Archon, guys, awesome. So those are our spoilers for today so far. More come out, I'll let you guys know. So let me know your comments on these cards below in the comments section as well. Check out my channel sponsors in the description of the video. And as always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.